Longer than any government, older than any dynasty, there exists an empire that conquers no countries. Only what everyone else long ago forgot belonged to them. The Medici financed cities. The East India Company bought continents. J.P. Morgan pulled the nerves of nations. But eventually, a structure of power emerged that needs no name, no flag, no face. An empire that exists only as flow, invisible, planetary, patient. In 1988, in an unremarkable office in Manhattan, a man named Larry Fink began building something that would one day hold more of the world than any emperor ever dared dream. $10 trillion in 2022, more than 11 by now. Enough to buy every publicly traded company in Germany, France, and Britain, together. And Japan on top. Not a bank, not a hedge fund, a custodian, a witness, a voting power almost nobody consciously handed over. This is not a conspiracy. It is something far more unsettling, a system so gigantic and so ordinary that it became invisible, like water to fish. The invention of power without decision. In the 1970s, two economists said something radical. Most professionals do not beat the market, so buy everything, hold everything, pay nobody to guess. Index funds were born, and with them, the silent revolution. While Vanguard invented the principle, Larry Fink built something else. Aladdin, a risk engine capable of reading the entire financial system the way others read a blood test. Portfolios, derivatives, sovereign wealth funds, everything flowed through the same machine. When BlackRock acquired iShares in 2009, the company suddenly owned both the engine and the vehicles, the software that helped governments evaluate burned assets, and the funds that later bought those same assets. No single deal made BlackRock enormous. Patience did. Fees as small as dust, multiplied by a mountain. Then came the pension funds, then the central banks, then entire governments during financial crises. BlackRock stopped being just an asset manager and became infrastructure, the quiet plumbing beneath global capitalism. Today, trillions move through systems most people will never see, guided not by headlines or emotions, but by algorithms measuring risk in milliseconds. And the strange part is this: the company grew most when the world was afraid. Because in every crash, institutions needed the same thing: someone who could see the whole map when everyone else only saw fire. More than 90% of S&P 500 companies share the same dominant shareholder block: BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. 3 names, 1 voting block. They vote on executive compensation, climate risk, mergers, breakups, locations. In 2023 alone, BlackRock cast more than 170,000 votes. Not because citizens decided, but because pension funds needed someone to vote on their behalf. And that someone was never the people themselves. Economists call it common ownership. When the same owners hold competing companies, those companies compete less. Not because anyone orders them to, but because incentives silently align. Airlines stop fighting price wars. Banks mirror each other's strategies. Consumer brands raise prices almost in sync. No smoke-filled room, no secret phone call. Just a system where the largest shareholders benefit more from stability than aggression. The result is subtle but enormous. Competition becomes theater, while ownership becomes concentrated behind the curtain. And most people never notice it happening, because the logos stay different, the commercials stay loud, and the illusion of rivalry remains intact. Aladdin oversees portfolios worth more than $20 trillion. Central banks use it, governments use it, insurers and pension funds use it. Imagine a single seismograph installed in every financial basement on Earth, and it belongs to the same company trading upstairs. BlackRock insists the walls are secure. Regulators nod. But in power, what matters is not only what you do, but what you see. Whoever recognizes first when everyone else is running, or when standing still is wiser, can move the world without moving at all. The real advantage was never ownership alone. It was visibility. To watch liquidity dry up before panic reaches the headlines. to detect fragility before markets call it a crisis, to understand which domino matters and which collapse is survivable. In modern finance, information travels faster than law, politics, or public awareness, and the institutions closest to the data do not need to control everything directly. They only need to understand the system better than everyone trapped inside it. That is why BlackRock's influence feels difficult to measure, not because it operates in secret, but because its power is woven into the architecture itself. In 2020, Larry Fink declared sustainability would become strategic from the left, outrage from the right. But BlackRock did not abandon oil. It shifted language. Engagement instead of exclusion. ESG as an option, not a mandate. When Republican-led states threatened to pull funds, the language softened again in 2023. Activists felt betrayed. Conservatives too. Why? Because they assumed BlackRock was ideological. BlackRock is not ideological. It is gravitational. It moves wherever capital flows, regardless of which direction the spirit of the age swings. The shadow voter. When you buy an ETF, you are not buying Apple, Exxon, or Pfizer. You are buying the market. But someone still has to vote those shares, and that someone is a few hundred people in a skyscraper. Not citizens, not voters, not the public. Delegation became so deep that it forgot itself. What does ownership mean when the owner stays silent and a machine speaks? The pattern beneath. BlackRock is not an exception. Vanguard sits beside it, State Street behind it. Behind them, Fidelity Investments, Capital Group, T. Rowe Price. The revolution that was meant to democratize investing produced something paradoxical, and no country mastered that system better than the United States. The New York Stock Exchange evolved into the central nervous system of global capitalism. Never before have so few institutions held so much ownership, while so many people remained so unaware of it. A structure born from rational decisions that created an irrational concentration of power. The danger is not malice. The danger is invisibility. As you read this, a teacher in Wisconsin contributes to a pension fund. A nurse in Manchester saves for retirement. A sovereign wealth fund in Singapore allocates reserves. Everything flows through the same channels, gathers in the same reservoirs, and casts the same votes. Year after year, company after company. The algorithm keeps reading, quietly, patiently. The empire needs no flag. It owns the ledger, and the ledger owns the rest. And whoever controls it, controls the world, silently.